Everyone, so I am here at this place in Kerala. This is my grandmother's place, so I often used to come over here, and this place is something where I get to learn so many things because it is so full of greenery. You can see in my background. So I have a habit of roaming around in this place to just take a look at the plants that are here, the maybe small animals or insects that I find here. And so I have a habit of observing uh, things, observing plants here and there around the house, right? So as you can see, this at the back is my house, and I am roaming around the house, right? So today I am going to share with you about lower plants, right? Because as I was roaming around in this place, I found lower plants, specifically bryophytes, which I think most of us, when it comes to lower plants, we don't want to study it because we don't understand it, and the main reason being we have not seen these plants in our practical life, in our real life, like we see other plants, right? So it is very important that we know about these plants as well. So let us take a look into what I have observed around this place. So here is the green courtyard that you can see around the house. You can see wells, right? And what I have observed is here in the floor, right, there are pebbles, and around the pebbles where there is moist area, you can see these green thing, right? This, yes, this that you see, let me focus it more. Now these green structures that you see, this is a bryophyte. See, you can see here also. It's here. Not able to focus actually, but I can show you. All these are bryophytes, right? Now what bryophyte is this? This is a sphagnum moss, right? This is sphagnum moss. Now you must have heard about sphagnum moss a lot because these are very important economically in various horticultural things, as well as these mosses play a very important, significant role in restoration of degraded lands. So these are all this all is sphagnum moss. Also must have heard words like peat moss, sheet moss, right? So sheet moss is these fresh sphagnum moss itself, which is used in many purposes in terrace gardening, in terrarium making, right? These mosses are extensively used. So this is particularly growing here in Kerala in natural climate. Wonder now that what is peat moss? Peat moss is nothing but the dried form of this particular sphagnum moss. So this that you see is the dried form of the sphagnum moss, right? These peat moss are rich in nutrients. They have their own habitat where this is a place of many small insects, and this peat moss is extensively used in gardening because peat moss is rich in nutrients and it retains moisture. Similarly, sphagnum moss, the sheet moss that we say, also retains moisture, and therefore sphagnum moss are extensively used for decorative purpose also, and also for retaining moisture in the plant. Now this formation of peat moss actually takes thousands of years, because this that you see is just one layer of the moss that has dried, but over the period of time these green mosses, they dry and they get accumulated as black earth, just layer by layer beneath. And this peat moss also has the debris of other plants, other insects, and so therefore this is rich in nutrient, and also it keeps a lot of moisture with it. So peat moss is known to be present at a place for thousands of years. It takes a lot of time for the peat moss to form. Now my another observation is that just beside this bryophyte, here there are some small plants growing around, but apart from that I want to show you this. Now these are also bryophytes, right? These are called liverworts because their shape resembles liver. Now this could be either Markensia or Rixia. I'm not sure because I don't know exactly the difference between both, but certainly this is Markensia or Rixia, because this cannot be Anthoceros, because Anthoceros is usually lobed, circular or irregular shaped, but these all bryophytes that you can see, these are dichotomously branched. I hope the dichotomous branching is clear to you, is visible to you, right? So here also it is present, hidden in the pebbles. I can show you here, see, here it is present, it is here also, yeah, here, right? Now see, this is the sphagnum moss in the middle is the sphagnum moss, and just around it, over it, above the sphagnum moss, you can see these bryophytes, right, which is actually growing on the sphagnum moss or around the sphagnum moss. Now one reason that I can find this growing nearby is because sphagnum moss retains moisture, so these bryophytes, they require moisture to grow, right? So maybe sphagnum moss is providing enough moisture, a kind of substratum, to this particular bryophyte, which is either Markensia or Rixia, and therefore these are growing around the sphagnum moss. These bryophytes are called as the amphibians of land plants because they cannot complete their life cycle without water, right? So they require water to complete the stage of reproduction, and therefore these are called as amphibians, like we have amphibians in animals. Now there are only certain patches around the house where I can see these structures growing. The only reason being is that this is a moist place where all the time water comes around, and this is a shady place also where there is not a lot of direct heat, because bryophytes, they like to stay in moist and shady habitat. Though there are bryophytes that can also survive in harsh extreme conditions, but most of the bryophytes that you will see, likes to be in moist and shady habitat. So how come in this area moist and shadiness is present? Let me show you the top of the house. Can you see a pipe there? Now all the rainwater, it directly falls over this place, and this rainwater keeps this place moist and shady, and this gives a perfect habitat for the bryophytes to grow. Now I'm just plucking one to show you the structure of this particular plant. So this is the plant, and I have actually kept my video in the macro mode. So I hope you can see this kind of a dorsiventral line in between the thallus. This is characteristics of Mertensia or Rixia. And here okay, so can you see these diamond shaped round dots in between? These are the places from where gaseous exchange take place between the thallus and the environment. See, now you can see the dots more clearly. These are the point of gaseous exchange. Now this that you see is the backside of the thallus. This is all soil, and this white part that you see are the rhizoids, which are so tightly attached to the soil that I cannot separate the soil from the thallus. So these rhizoids actually play the role of attachment to the substratum, which in this case is soil, which is made by sphagnum moss and by the rock surface present there. So these are the rhizoids. This is the backside of the thallus, where here rhizoids are present, which are still tightly attached to the soil particle, and I actually put some water over it so that I can clean the thallus to show you the back portion. This is the complete front side of the thallus. You can see dorsiventral veins lining present. Here there are those diamond shaped pores which I had shown you earlier, but now I have added water so you cannot see that pores very clearly. So this is the thallus of Mertensia or Rixia. So this is the whole thallus that you can see, which is heart shaped, lever shaped, and hence these are called leverworts. Okay, so in macro mode you can see how small tiny plants you can observe. This is sphagnum moss. Just trying to pluck some for you to give you an idea of the size of the plant. See, right? So let us take a more closer look into one single plant. Now you can see how tiny these plants are, right? There is a kind of very small root system that you can see. Not actual real roots, but these are rhizoids, but then they look like very small plants. And this is the so-called stem, and the upper tuft, is where the capsule comes, the fruiting body comes, from where the spores will disperse through water to other places. So this is sphagnum moss. They are so tightly attached, to the substratum that you can just only see the upper part of the body. Now these bryophytes are called as the closer relatives of land plants because probably they were the first plants that actually moved towards, after that terrestrial plants started coming. So after bryophytes, pteridophytes came. After pteridophytes, angiosperms and gymnosperms started coming. So probably this is like bryophyte have a major role to play in evolution or adaptation. So you can see bryophytes growing in sterile type of soil also because they don't have roots. Bryophytes lack perfect roots. In fact, they lack vascular systems. So therefore, since they do not have vascular system, they do not have a well developed root, they take all the nutrients directly from the air, from their so called thallus, and they carry on their activities. So you can see a bryophyte growing in various types of places where a normal plant cannot grow. You can see a bryophyte growing on wall. You can see it growing on rocks, on rough surfaces. You can see it growing on mountains because it has no roots. It only has rhizoids to attach itself to the substratum, and the plant, the bryophyte, can grow there and obtain the nutrients directly from the environment. So all of these green structures that you see growing on the walls, right? This is a wall, a boundary. All these green structures that you see, this is all of this is actually mosses. And if you see it very closely, you will realize that these are single plants, right? These are many plants that have grown together, and see, these are all moss, which we call as the sphagnum moss. And you can also see these brown part. This is the dried sphagnum moss, which you can see. This is actually the peat moss, right? This brown part. So now I am showing you the macro image of this plant, and you can see that there are so many small plants, that are coming up. These are all small plants, small sphagnum mosses that are coming up, and they together form the sheet moss that we know. And like this, they cover the whole surface of the wall and they spread all over. This all that you see is peat moss. See, I can pluck it and show you, right? So this is all the dried part, which is called the peat moss, right? This dried part is used for nutrients, and it is used as an amendment for plants. All over this wall you can see this brown part. This whole is the sphagnum sheet moss, which has dried and now getting converted to peat moss. Now that is all for bryophytes, but these are two important bryophytes that I observed here around, and I thought that it is good that I share some information about bryophytes that I observed here. So this video was about that. I have also observed one common pteridophyte here, which I will share with you in the next video. Till then, I hope this information was useful to you as a botanist to understand about the habitat of bryophytes and the structure of bryophytes. Why do they grow in moist places? What is their role in making the environment, the land more fertile? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.